Starring Ben Lawrence, Paul Goody.
Gouldy.
Paul Gouldy. Bone Lawrence. So anyway, hey Ben,
Hey,
how's it
Paul.
going?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, it's okay. I think we should just get this one out of the way really quick.
Uh-oh.
Um, Ben, a lot of people, I can't, a lot of people, they have things to say about the current president. Many of them, unflattering. They
No.
dislike some of
No.
his decisions and some of the things that he does and all that.
Get out.
Um,
Oh, we had a viewer for a hot second.
oh no, oh no,
probably
what if?
a supporter of the current
No, I think
administration.
it's the other way. I think it's the other way. Is that they think that we're
Oh, I
supporters of the
see.
current administration. And hey, if you're monitoring this, maybe we are. Probably not enough to look into. Okay, so anyway, but this is the thing. I do want to say one one thing because, as you know, Ben, what do I care about? I care about the truth. I care about science. I like things to be good. So when I hear something that, and this is one of those things where you post something and then you say duet incoming, right? So just bear with me for this first part, and then there's going to be a little bit more.
Okay.
So June 14th, which is the day that there are going to be tanks in Washington D.C. for a little bit of a celebration. Um, People are criticizing it because they say, "Oh, it's Trump's birthday,
Right.
and he wants to have a little parade in his honor and all that." The thing that I want to say, and remember, stitch incoming. There's going to be more happening as soon as I say this part, but in 1975, on June 14th, there was a celebration for the 200th anniversary of the Army. So it is, in fact, I mean, Donald Trump had been born by that time, but I don't necessarily think that.
What kind of a celebration was it?
Well, and this is where I was going to say, Ben, stitch incoming.
Okay.
I, in absolutely no way, shape, or form, think that it's a coincidence that the 250th celebration is going to be like larger and a show of military force, etc. That is
Right.
not what they did at that time. Gerald Ford was president. I think he gave a little bit of a speech. There were things. The way it was described on Wikipedia when I was looking at Wikipedia, or maybe Google, maybe just as a Google result. When you look on Google now, they give
Little
results for
AI
things.
summary at the very top.
So yeah, so I don't know. I might just be going off the AI summary. Well, more on that in a second as well.
More on
But
that.
more on that. Uh, but the thing that I feel like needs to be said is that nowhere in the thing that I read did Gerald Ford suggest that he was going to arrest anybody who decided to protest the
Right.
200th thing. And also, now let's talk about this for just a second. Um, you know what a honeypot is, Ben? Yes, the term honeypot,
Are you speaking literally or figuratively?
figuratively. It's so, like, for instance, if you have a honeypot, it might be a server that doesn't have any security on it whatsoever, that you then hope that people will come in and try to hack or whatever.
Yeah.
In the same way, hey, says Donald Trump, I'm going to have tanks on my birthday going to Washington, D.C., and you better not protest it. You better not come here
No.
when there are. This is the problem. It's the problem that's happening right now in Los Angeles, in Seattle as well, and in Chicago as well. Are the two cities that we're in.
Yeah.
Um, they have hit upon a way that you can be not very cunning, just kind of in the open, doing something horrible that people will want to protest, and then when they protest, you're like, oh well,
This
this is
is
why I'm doing
entrapment,
my thing.
man.
Yeah, it's entrapment. It entirely is. That's that thing.
Yeah, there's so much going on around this. Have you heard the latest news though about the military parade that's going to happen through DC on
The
Saturday?
thunderstorms.
Yeah, it may get canceled because dear leader doesn't like to be in the rain because it messes up his hair.
Well, and also, you know, probably tanks don't do well
Tanks
in the
will
rain.
they'll slip all
Yeah,
over the road.
yeah, exactly. It'd be crazy. The thing that I liked
The
about
roads
that was
they're
that
going to damage by driving over them.
exactly. I was about to say part of the budget for the parade is
$16 million.
fixing the roads afterwards. So yeah, all of that is fun. Ben, you and I, of course, if somebody goes through all of the things on the podcast that we've said in the past, no friends to the current
No,
administration.
no.
Likewise, though, not really wanting to be thrown in any sort of jail or taken out of the country. Ooh, speaking about which, Ben, have you heard about this? A staunch defender of immigrants to the United States, not necessarily documented immigrants either, stated that sometimes in places like farms or hotels, there are workers who have been there for 20 years or so and have established themselves and ingratiated themselves to the people that employ them in such a way that maybe deporting them wouldn't be
Why
the best idea.
Wait, Paul Goody, are you talking about a truth that was bleated out by the president about how those very farm and hotel workers are being rounded up? However, what we need to worry about is not that those jobs are now vacant, but those jobs are now being filled by the criminals that the Biden open borders policy have let in.
But the thing is that what I took that statement as being is that they're going to make exceptions for hotel and farm workers now. This is what I've heard.
I don't know, man. If Stephen Miller has his way, everybody who's not a white person will be deported.
Yeah, I mean
Like
we've heard that, right?
he screamed at
Yep,
ICE agents for not arresting enough people.
I heard that. Why aren't we at Home Depot? I believe was the quote.
And then guess what? They went to Home Depot and started arresting
Yep,
people.
exactly. How? But you would be a fool and a communist to suggest that the two things were in any way connected.
Hashtag
Um,
relax.
Now, Ben,
Paul.
I ask you, what on the fringes of weirdness did someone when defending the the birthday party parade? Is it the birthday party for the army or the birthday party for who knows? What did they let slip that caused puzzlement to people, but no one followed up on? And you may not have even. I mean, you have to watch a whole bunch of crap before you get to the thing. And when the thing happens, no one says anything. They just keep on going.
Somebody let something slip.
Yes.
Like maybe like saying the quiet part out loud style.
Not even saying the quiet part out loud style, just saying something that I feel like a journalist maybe should have said, "Hey, could you go back to this thing that you said?"
Yeah.
But never happened.
I don't know. I don't know what you're referring.
So there was a person who was being interviewed, and we keep it wrong here. I forget who the person was, but you can look it up. It's all over Reddit. Being interviewed about this thing
About the parade.
about the parade, mentioning that it was good for. Do you know what they're pitching? Do you know why they're saying the parade is good?
It's good for morale for undocumented immigrants.
Good. It's good for morale. It's good for
The budget?
recruitment.
Good for
It's good for recruitment.
Oh
That's what
yeah,
they're
because
saying.
we're going to war with Iran for some reason.
Oh, are we?
I don't know. I just
Uh,
I only know what I read on Facebook.
so it's good for recruitment. They're talking about it's good for recruitment, and he talked about the guy who said it's good for recruitment is talking about um people who are involved in the military and the things that they did, and he said, I talked to one soldier who had been on the moon. He said, I talked to one soldier who's an astronaut who's been on the moon. And then he just keeps
Where?
on going.
Yeah. Well, hold up.
No one
Back up.
said it. Yeah, 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 exactly. That would be now here's
Does the moon have oil? I don't remember us, sending
I
soldiers
wish
there.
I wish I had the exact wording because in retrospect, as I'm thinking back, I talked to a soldier who's an astronaut who was on the moon,
Astronauts are
right?
made up of military pilots.
But him being on the moon is weird,
Don't know if I would call them
right? We don't
soldiers.
we
Yeah.
have not had so
Nobody's been on the moon since like the mid 70s.
I'm thinking about is there is there like a retired or is there an astronaut? This is what I'm thinking he's saying. And I could be wrong, but maybe part of this there is an astronaut that has been on the moon that you and I don't have on the tip of our tongues who was in the army and who later on talked about how he had been in the army. And that's the astronaut who was on the moon, as opposed to what a lot of people are taking this as, which is that there's a soldier who has been on the moon at the time that this guy talked to him, which I don't think is the case. But still, they don't follow it up.
So I did a Google search, Army
Yes,
astronaut on the moon,
yes.
and it led me to a page on realclearpolitics.com, which I've never heard of.
Okay.
But the headline is Army Secretary says he spoke, in quotes, yesterday to a U.S. soldier, and I'm quoting, who is on the moon.
Who is
Who
on the
is
moon?
on the moon. And it was on Fox News, so that's probably why they didn't follow up.
Yeah.
U.S.
So
Army
yeah,
Secretary
crazy, right?
Dan Driscoll.
Yeah. Do they have the actual quote? Did they list what he actually said?
Hang on, let me bring it back because I closed it. Um, there's like a YouTube video, but okay, yeah, answering a question about the parade scheduled for Saturday to mark the 250th anniversary of Donald Trump. I mean, of the Army. Secretary Daniel Driscoll said the following quote: "Young Americans get to see all the amazing thing the Army has done." I'm assuming that's a typo in the article. Whether it is helping with floods in North Carolina, FEMA's going to get canceled after the next hurricane season, in North Carolina, or wildfires in California. We talked to an astronaut yesterday who was on the moon, who was a soldier, including actually going to war and fighting to defend freedom. So, they included a tweet that was by RCP Video. I'm assuming this is this publication's Twitter account. He probably meant to say he spoke to someone on the International Space Station, but he did say the moon.
Oh, I didn't even think of that as a possibility. Um, yeah, maybe. Oh, okay. So Ben, in Ben gonna guess the news,
Uh oh. I
Ben, there's something that I talk about all the time on this podcast, and one of the things about me talking about this thing is that we don't have any footholds. We don't have any ways to determine things. And what's going to take is some sort of action, legal action, to kind of set the record straight. And there is something that is happening that I think will do that. Do you know what it is?
no earthly idea. Is it about AI?
It is, of course, about AI.
Some sort of legal action that needs to what? Now I was typing in show notes. So set the record straight in some regard.
Right now, I'll give you I'll give you an example. When somebody says, "Who owns an image that is created by an AI
Oh,
generated
is this about like
thing?"
Disney suing? I briefly
Yes.
saw this headline go past my feed, but I didn't read too much into
Okay.
it. So, but Disney is suing
So
somebody.
Disney and Universal, both companies, have teamed
Quite
up
the team up, yeah.
to sue Midjourney. You might remember Midjourney as a thing that I used for a little
Did
bit.
not realize it was Mid Journey.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And specifically Midjourney. And they're both suing it. And the idea is basically in the wording of the lawsuit that is being filed that Midjourney is distributing their intellectual property, the intellectual property of Disney and Universal.
Ah, gotcha.
So
Because their IP was used to train the AI.
that is correct. So if this lawsuit goes forward, we will have a um and this is one of those things of like this is not a way that I thought about thinking about this, but it is possible that this is what the legal definition is going to be
Yeah.
for this stuff. That if your intellectual property was used to train an AI, when that AI produces an image, that image, no matter how transformed, will still be your intellectual property. That is an interesting
Yeah.
way to, that's an interesting take. Could be possible.
Which is something
Um,
that we've been saying for like the last year about how this industry is going to be regulated through just a crap ton of lawsuits.
mhm. And I mean, Disney
More than a
and
year.
mhm, that's right. And Disney is finally ready to do something. I have a suggestion. This is my suggestion. This is what I think is happening. Up until this point, people have been using, as you know, the LAION is how you pronounce it, data set in a lot of their training. We're talking OpenAI, we're talking Google, we're talking Midjourney, all those places. Are you familiar with this data set? I
I
know that I've talked about it before,
I
but
am not.
it is a set of keywords and URLs. There are no images in this data set. And if you think about it, it would make sense because the larger a data set is, the harder it is to contain it and to
The
use it.
more energy it takes to run it.
So it's a set of URLs and a set of keywords. And then what has to happen, and this is the problem, is that somebody tried to sue LAION for including their images in their data set. And their idea was, well, we didn't include the images. We included a URL to the images. And then it's up to an organization who wants to use our data set to figure out the legality of whether or not they can.
Yeah.
If you're an educational institute and you're looking for pictures of stop signs, you can probably use it, right? And one of the things that back when I was using Midjourney and I was looking into the legality of it and all that, there's a thing that said that if you are using images just to use images, the copyright on them doesn't matter as much as if you're using images and analyzing the artistic aspects of it, like the shading or brush strokes or things like that. That's a problem. But if you're just looking at, I want to see a stop sign in as many ways as possible so that a car can represent it, can um,
Recognize it.
recognize the stop sign. Yeah, exactly. Then it's okay. That was sort of the idea. That's where the legality was at the time. So after that happened, and after they brought that sort of idea through, I was like, okay, well, I guess things like Midjourney are looking for the artistic things, right? So maybe it isn't covered. And then again, and then Betty, obviously had an opinion that then swayed me. But
Right.
if
Which
they
we've
go
discussed.
with what Disney has said, then it goes like this. If I think the courts will do it like this. If your image looks like something from Disney and Disney's data was used to train it, then those two things together will say, yes, this is Disney's
What'll
property.
be interesting is how they're able to prove that that imagery, that IP, had been used to train the AI.
Well, I mean, this is the thing, right?
Like, is
Is
that
that,
is if somebody makes, I'm gonna make an image of a lion, right, using Midjourney, and Disney's like, that looks too much like Simba. How do you know that Midjourney used the Lion King for its, and not like National Geographic, to make this picture of a lion?
yeah, I mean, one of the ways that, or one of the things I can say is that the CEO of Midjourney did not do himself any favors. Uh, in an interview, he said that he scraped the entire internet. And when they asked where the images were from, he said something to the effect of, if you have
Everywhere.
100 million images, you're not going to know exactly where they're from.
Yeah,
Something to that effect.
that's amazing.
When in fact, um, so the big thing is this. Um, so what I was saying is everybody had been using this data set, right? All the big names using the data set. This lawsuit would basically make that data set poison kind of for anyone, and they're not going to want to use it.
Yeah.
So this is my thought. Disney most likely now has their own data set of just their material. They've I think that's what it is. And then once this lawsuit happens, boom, then
Make
they come out with
make
it.
your own Disney content.
Yeah, pay us.
Guess what? Disney
what
owns all of it too.
what is yeah, exactly. What's the Google thing? It's $250 a month?
Oh,
$250 a
for
month?
VO3, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think it's 250. Um as a Disney, oh my gosh, Ben. I'm not saying they're going to do this, but this is what I would do. You apply to be a Disney Imagineer, AI Imagineer. Ben, I predicted they were going to use the word iPhone, but I never came up. AI Imagineer,
Yep.
AI Imagineer, a Disney AI Imagineer. And when you do it, there's a morals clause and there's all this stuff that you
Or
agree
an
to.
Imagineer. Nah, that doesn't work.
Maybe. And then you work for Disney. They own everything that you make for it.
I own you. I control you. I don't know.
But people would do it. People would do it for sure.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the next step. And you
Yeah.
may pay a fee. You may pay.
You
You
pay
may
to work for Disney.
you pay. You're an employee of Disney. You pay for your access, and then they pay you. And I'm basing this on something. They pay you on how much your content makes, right?
Ah.
And what they would do, if they do it the same way that they did it with children's books, they'll pay you up front,
Right.
right? More than you will
Much
than they will ever make.
like an advance for a book.
Exactly. I mean, Ben, I think we've cracked it. I think that's what Disney is going to do. Wait, maybe not even 5 years, and that's what's going to happen.
Time will tell. Yeah, not even that, man. I don't know how long this lawsuit's going to take, but they traditionally do take years. But then how long after
Now,
that?
people would say, "Hey, Paul, would you sign up for that?" I mean, I already did with the children's book.
Yeah.
I might pay that. I might do that. Sure. Especially this is the other thing. If we're all going to get laid off, if they lay off the world, Ben, what's going to happen?
Fire the world.
Yeah, exactly.
What is going to happen? Oh, speaking of stuff that's happened in the world, this is going to be a Paul Gonna Guess the News.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a number and a letter, and you tell me why it's significant today. Today
Hmm.
specifically, Thursday, June 12th, 2025.
Okay, I may not know, but let's try it.
11A.
Is 11A the seat that the British passenger on the India plane that went down was sitting in and survived?
I don't know if it was a British passenger, but you are correct. That is the
There is
seat
the
that one that, as of now, the sole survivor has sat in.
I think he was British then because I just read a thing. This is the only thing that I read. A British passenger survived that crash. That's the only
It
thing
was
that I
heading to
read.
Gatwick, so it's totally possible.
Okay, but yeah, I
Unbreakable in
saw
real life.
I saw another. Oh, Intacto, Ben. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Ben, okay, this is me asking you and everybody else. See Intacto. It's such a good film. Um, a guy, a guy survives a plane crash. I'm not spoiling anything there, and then his life gets crazy. I'm not
Because
spoiling
he was
anything there.
supposed to die, and now he's discovering that
Hey, look, you gotta watch it.
he finally goes home, and his wife is married to someone else, and she's never heard of him.
It's one of I can say that does not happen. Uh, it's it's one of my favorite films of all time.
Intacto.
Intacto.
How old is it?
Pretty old. I want to say it's in like
No, I
the
don't
late
want to spell
90s.
intact.
Late 90s.
I
Intacto.
really need to turn off Apple's at least in this instance, text edits autocorrect.
Hmm. Yeah. Autocorrect is in general a problem. Oh man, Ben, think about this. Imagine an autocorrect that you can never get to do exactly what you want. You say, "I want to say this," and then it says, I think I'm going to say this." There's a woman.
It's Justin is here, and I thought maybe someone else was here, but it sounds like he's watching something.
Oh, okay, I can hear it, uh, but just barely. Justin. Okay,
Just in.
Justin. Do you remember that?
No.
Uh, there's a movie. Jeremy Clement,
Jermaine Clement
Jermaine Clement
from Flight of the
is in it. Yeah,
Concords.
that's correct. Yeah, it's called like Octopus versus Shark or something
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I
yeah.
forget.
I know of the movie. I've not seen it though.
And he's calling to threaten someone, and he says, "Tell them justice is coming." And the person on the other end says, "Okay, Justin." Uh, I love it so much. Jennifer and I mention it all the time. It's funny. Oh, hey, Insomnia Cookies. You're familiar with it,
Never heard of
right?
him.
Oh, they're a cookie place that you can order from, and my family loves them.
Cookies you eat when you can't sleep.
Cookies that you eat, they deliver late. That's the idea. But
Ah.
they have that name. Um,
So,
so
so cookies you order when you have too much to drink and you want a snack.
it could be other things could also happen. Um, so
Man,
I
there are other
ordered
reasons why people stay up late at night.
we ordered them, and Betty got three of the chocolate chunk kind. And then I was gonna order three sugar cookies, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't just order three sugar cookies. I'll get a sugar cookie, I'll get a peanut butter cookie, I'll get an M&M cookie. Right, three different things. When they were delivered, Betty picked the sugar cookie as one of the ones that she wanted, and so I didn't get any sugar cookies. And I was like, what? That doesn't happen.
Well, now you're making me hungry
But
for cookies.
I dealt with it like a champ by complaining for a little bit and then apologizing to everyone.
That's what champs do.
Yeah. Father's Day coming up
On Sunday, yeah.
on Sunday. Yeah, exactly. Who knows what Father's Day is going to be like
After
on Sunday?
after the day of no kings.
Yes. No kings and then Father's Day. Who came up with that? That's a problem. Mm. But but yeah, apparently South Chicago has a different location for the No Kings thing, but I don't know where it is or how it is or why it is. Oh,
So
what
Chicago proper is doing their own protests, and South Chicago has a separate one.
the suggestion is, this is what I've heard, and I'm sure that you've seen it online because once again, whenever any idea comes up, everybody acts like they thought of it and doesn't say where they heard about it from first. Um, but the idea that uh, several smaller protests are more effective than one big large one.
Ah,
So I think
so
that's why they
you
move them
thin
around.
out the riot cops who are able to control you.
Exactly. That's the idea. Um, Now I don't, of course. This is one of the reasons, Ben. I have been to some protests in my life, but in general, I don't like crowds, and that includes crowds with another crowd that is trying to stop the first crowd from being a crowd. I just saw somebody posting from Los Angeles that apparently there's a curfew that they put into effect. But where they were protesting, the people that were there were keeping them
Yeah,
in that area until the
the
curfew,
cops did
which
not
is
allow
crazy.
them to leave this area, and then arrested them for violating curfew.
That is
It's part of the
some,
playbook, man. Although it's
yeah,
funny. Like we went through this 5 years ago when we had the riots here in Seattle, right? It was a very relatively small part of the city, right? It's just like a few
yeah,
blocks. But then the national news is like, oh, Seattle's on fire. It's run by anarchy and all that. Same thing's happening in Los Angeles right now. The actual like trouble in Los Angeles is happening in a very small,
yeah.
concentrated area. Even then, though, last night there was a protest out front of the Federal Building on Second Avenue, Second and Marion, and my mom and I live on Second Avenue, but
Yeah,
I live like on the opposite end of downtown, right? And
yeah,
so even then, my mom's like, texting me, she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine, mom.
yeah. Well,
There's
it's
nothing
like,
outside my window except the parking lot."
we talked about this WTO, right? I actually had this situation where I was working for a large internet retail company uh, on Sixth Avenue during that time.
Yeah,
It's right where the protests were happening. And I probably related the longer story here before, but the main thing was I worked nights. I called and said, "Hey, how are things over there?" And the person there said, "Fine, come on down." And when I came on down, things were not great.
yeah.
And the security guard was like, "Get away from the door." And I showed him my badge and he pulled me in. And he said, "What are you doing here? We're shutting the whole building down."
So was
Uh,
this coworker slash friend yanking your chain, or had
no,
the bad things not happened yet?
the idea was that at the time that I called him, he was up on, a higher floor of the building
Right.
working,
Yeah.
hadn't heard anything. And then so I'm walking and people are chanting and stuff like that. Um, but the police, this is true. I usually go in the back. There's a back door that you can go in through, and I usually went in that door. But the police were coming down that alley that I would normally be in. So then I turned around and I saw police on the other side. So I went, but yeah, they evacuated the building. Me and another coworker stayed in the building though because I didn't want to watch. It's just like, imagine if you were in the federal building. And then they said, okay, everybody has to leave the federal building and walk home. And you're like, okay, except, no,
Because
because I would have to walk home,
through the
through
fray.
exactly. So we just stayed there, and then they put us in vans and drove us to the Pacific Medical Center,
All the way
which
over
was
there.
also
Wow.
it was also owned by the large internet
Oh,
retailer,
that's why. Yeah, yeah.
and wasn't
At the
being
time.
affected by the protest at all.
Well, they weren't really
So
protesting
then,
that company. They were.
yeah, exactly. which in retrospect, haha, maybe they should have been. Ooh, but yeah, then I just worked the rest of my shift, and then we left and had breakfast. And other people went to join the protest, and I went home and went to bed.
So, how? Let me ask you a question about your career on as the in the night shift.
Yeah.
How often did you go out with coworkers when your shift is over?
Mm, I would say once or twice a month.
So my question to
Not a
you is,
lot.
when your shift is over, for those
Hmm.
people who drank, did they get a beer at like 8 o'clock in the morning from some
Yeah,
diners? Yeah,
yeah, they would do
I
that.
can't imagine that people who don't know they just got off of an 8 hour shift
Hmm.
look at them, without to kind of look at them askew, askance.
Yeah, they want to because they want to put you into their timeline.
Yeah.
Um, it's like there was a thing where I was working. This is back when I was doing some electrical work at Husky Stadium, and it was really there were some bad parts of it. Um, Using a porta potty uh, in the hot sun was
Never,
not great.
never a good time.
But there's a time when you're working on a building and the walls aren't all together, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking out through the side of a building that you really shouldn't, be able to do, but it was kind of cool. But we're there and we're looking out the side and there are all these cars, and one of my coworkers was like, "When do they work? Don't these people have jobs? What are they doing?" And I'm like, "Okay, so they might have a completely different shift than you. There are people that work from home. This is before the work from home thing was
Right.
huge.
Yeah.
There are people that work from home. There are stay-at-home parents, and there are people who are richer than you and me who can just drive around whenever they want. The idea that most of the people driving here are people making money off of unemployment is incorrect. If you
Ah,
are
don't tell that though to the fear mongers on the news.
if you're living well, this is I was trying to counteract some of that. If you're living on unemployment, you're not going many places.
Right.
You and I have both been on unemployment
Oh
before.
yeah.
And ladies and
And
gentlemen,
I've
if
been
you're
unemployed
listening,
without being on unemployment, which is even
yes,
worse.
if you're listening to this, let me tell you, people who get unemployment are by and large people who have paid into the system. It's called unemployment insurance for a reason. However, the other thing that I would suggest is go ahead and search out the video that Ben and I did uh, asking people to give us jobs
Video
when we were both
resume.
unemployed.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite videos of ours. It's still good. Gavin
I was just
Gavin
gonna
was
say,
in it.
Gavin Cummins has a spectacular guest turn in that.
Yes, he's very, very good. Um, so yeah, I was just looking through a lot of old video stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I was looking specifically for a video, and I found it of Betty when she was really, really young, yelling at me to stop singing, and it's carried over
I'm sure.
into
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm sure she does that even to this day.
yeah. Um, but I found some other really kind of fun stuff too. It is cool that there will be archives of us, you know, in the future that people will find
Us, you
and
and me. Us, you and your family.
uh, us meaning
Everybody.
humans,
Humans.
humans
Gotcha.
from now,
If
you know,
if the
if they're able
electronics,
to play it.
if
Yeah,
the electronics survive the EMP pulse.
I still like the idea that, and I think it's worth revisiting. They just weren't able to do it. The scientists who thought that any pottery that was on a potter's wheel might have vibrations from the sound that was around them, and they might be able to filter it out and actually hear the sound, like how record players work.
Yeah. Okay. I'm following. I follow the theory.
Yeah,
I don't see it in practice.
yeah. Someone tried it. You can look it up. There wasn't a lot that worked with it, but it could happen later on.
Still a lot we don't know.
Yep, yep. I do like the idea. I mean, this is one of the things that's kind of fun, right? If you take a take a piece of paper, right? Scramble it up, and then uh, you know, snip it up, scramble it up. You can then put it back together. It might take you a long time,
Right.
but you can eventually put it back together. Extrapolating on that, if you have a piece of paper with ink written on it and put that in water and stir it up so that the ink gets into the water, theoretically, you should be able to reverse that process and get what the words on the paper originally were
From the ink that's floating in the water?
from the ink that's floating in the water.
That
Theoretically,
is
you should be able to
above my
reverse it.
pay grade.
Well, and this is the idea. This is what we talk about, right? Um, that eventually an AI might be so powerful that it could do that. But here's the thing: doing that, reversing that, and making and putting the words back on the paper, that's exactly how a diffusion model, well, not exactly, but similar, very similar to how a diffusion model works. How you're able to just type in some words and get a picture.
Mm.
The idea is, imagine if you can't necessarily get the words that were on that piece of paper, but you can get a 98% chance of what those words on that paper maybe looked like.
Maybe looked like.
And that's what we're talking
Maybe
about.
not in the order with which
Yeah.
they were, but.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is the idea, right? You get video of a historic event, right? Is it the real video of the real historic event? No. But is that really what we want? Do we want to really see how the historic event went? Or would we rather see the historic event in 4K acted by, a professional actor? Which would be better in the long run? That's one of the things I keep thinking about.
Just as long as it's directed by Christopher Nolan.
Oh, Christopher Nolan. Who's doing The Odyssey next, I believe.
Oh, is that his next project?
Yeah.
I've not been reading the trades.
Yes, he is doing The Odyssey. I think Matt Damon is the. Is that right?
Paul
Matt
gonna guess more news.
Yeah.
A 38-year-old sequel was announced today.
Oh,
A movie that came out 38 years ago.
okay. Let me think. So it's 2025. So, 38 years ago. Let's do that math first, Ben. I'm not the greatest in math in my head, but I want to do it. 38 years ago, we are talking about 90, no, 80. Oh, wait. Yeah. No, 93? 1993? Is that right?
That is not right.
Okay. 83?
That is not correct either.
Wait, hold on. Am I doing it wrong?
38.
38 years ago. 2003?
No.
I'm doing math worse than I ever have, Ben. Okay. So let's do this. Let's do
You
this.
wanna keep
40
going?
years ago. If it were 40 years ago, okay, it'd be 85, right?
Yes.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, 85.
So
So you said 38,
I said
right?
38.
So 1983?
You're going the wrong way.
1987?
Yes.
Oh. Wow. Sorry, Ben. 1987.
So a film that came out in 1987. Just today, they announced that the sequel will be made.
Oh, they announced it today.
They
Okay.
announced it today, and the sequel's not coming out for another couple years. They only announced it today.
What came out in 1987? Can you get Ben? Can you give me a hint by looking up other movies that were out in 1987?
But so process of elimination, you want me to give you what wasn't?
I just want to put my mind. Yes, give me what wasn't. I just want to put my mind in
All
that
right, I just did a quick
mindset.
Google search for movies that were released in 1987, and I'm only going to focus on ones that did not have a sequel.
Okay.
Um, Good Morning Vietnam was released in
Okay.
1987. The Princess Bride, although it feels
Ooh.
like that movie might have had a direct to tape, direct to
It
video.
didn't though. It didn't. Yeah. Um. Wow.
There's a movie that just the cover art is basically just a headless woman in a bikini called Pretty Smart.
I don't know that
I've
one.
never heard of it before. Full Metal Jacket came out in 1987.
And this is not part of a franchise. It's never had a sequel before.
Correct.
Is that right?
It's never
Oh
had
my
a sequel
gosh.
before.
It's going to be harder for me to. Um. Okay. Let me ask another question. Uh, is the same? Are any of the same? Uh, like cast or crew going to be involved in the announcement? Did they mention?
In the announcement, 3 cast members were confirmed as coming back. And I'll give you a big hint. One of them might not live to make it because this third cast member is 99 years old.
Wow. Okay.
That might be a big hint.
No, not for me. Not for me, Ben. I'm doing bad. I'm doing bad on this. So let's see. If they were,
I'll give you
99.
I'll give you a genre.
If they were 99, they'd be 61 years old.
I'll give you a genre.
At the time.
Do you want
Yeah.
do you want the genre?
Sure, of course.
It's comedy.
Yeah,
the broad genre is comedy.
99 years old. Comedy.
We can narrow that down to subgenres of comedy if you want.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Because I'm not.
This might give it away. But
The Birdcage.
no.
Okay.
This might give it away, but
Yeah.
parody.
Oh, wait a second. Is it a Zucker Brothers film? Like
Ooh,
Airplane,
so Airplane had
or
a sequel.
Police Story, or it did, and so did Police Story. Dang it.
I don't remember.
Is it Mel Brooks? Okay.
He's the 99-year-old. I'll give you that.
Yeah, that's when I hit upon it. There are people probably screaming right now. Ben, all of the things I'm thinking about, would be sad because the people that were in it are no longer alive.
There are some cast members who have passed away, but there are some remaining cast members who allegedly have signed on for the sequel.
Blazing Saddles.
No.
No, I did not think so. But it would have been great for all the people who say you couldn't make that today.
Right. Is Cleavon Little? I think Cleavon Little passed away. I know Gene Wilder passed away a long time ago.
Oh, Ben. I have an idea brewing in this little head of mine. Is it Spaceballs?
Spaceballs, the sequel.
My God.
You should look at the teaser trailer. It's really quite brilliant.
Okay.
But
there's
Bill Pullman and Rick Moranis have signed on to come back.
Rick Moranis.
Right? Rick Moranis, who gave up acting 30 years ago.
Yeah. Man, and what a great... Can we just say, this is the thing. Rick Moranis wins in so many ways. We like a comeback kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's... let's see. John Candy no longer with us.
I don't know about
Joan Rivers
Joan Rivers
no longer
passed
with us.
away. Daphne Zuniga, I don't know if she's still around. I don't think she's. At least she's not been anything that I've seen recently. She.
I don't think I saw all of Spaceballs.
You haven't seen the whole thing? Oh man, I
I,
loved that movie when I was a kid. Like it was right in my
now,
wheelhouse too. I was like 11 years old when that movie came out.
now Rick Moranis was Darth Helmet, I think.
Dark Helmet.
Dark Helmet. Sorry. And then Bill Pullman was the Han Solo character,
Yeah.
which was I forget what. Hey, can I ask you something?
His character's name was Lone Star.
Lone Star. Okay. Did you ever see Ice Pirates?
I never saw Ice Pirates. Is that supposed
Ice
to be a
Pirates
play
was
on
a
words?
why would it? What would it?
I'm just
Oh, for news of the day kind of thing.
no.
Maybe no. Ice Pirates.
Dick Van Patten passed
Was
away.
was a weird thing where it was a parody, but not a parody. It played like a parody of a thing that didn't exist, if that makes sense. What I mean by that, it was stupid, but there was no serious thing that it was making fun of, except for maybe the whole space opera genre.
Okay.
And so what I always thought would be an interesting thing would be to make the reverse of a parody, which is to make a serious movie out of Ice Pirates, like make it legit. But there are some problematic things in there that it does not deserve to have that
What
happen.
like
If that makes
what
sense.
what year was it released? Like what era was this parody?
Around the same time.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
80s.
I'm sure
Yeah,
it's extremely problematic.
yeah. There's a pimp bot, I believe, that then later on became pimp bot. It's a different It's a different thing.
Uh,
Anyway, not good. Not great.
Daphne Zuniga, who
Not
played Princess Vespa in Spaceballs, is still she hasn't worked in a couple years, but she did like she has like 4 or 5 credits every year.
hmm.
Minor like movies and some episodic television.
So I feel like um now there is of course Tron Ares that at first I thought you were maybe talking about, but then again I missed the fact that there were already Tron
There's a
sequels,
couple of Tron
right?
sequels,
So
I believe.
yeah. So this latest
One
one
has
that's coming out, of course,
Jeff
has
Bridges.
yeah, Jeff Bridges has been in all of them, I think.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the
Um,
sequels.
so the latest one, spoiler alert, but it's in the trailer, so I think it's fine. Uh, the Tron stuff comes into the real world, if that makes sense.
As opposed to the real world going into Tron.
Yep, exactly. Um, oh, I saw Sinners. Bought it.
Yeah, I heard it's
Uh,
available on digital, is what they said.
yes, it is on digital, and I bought it on Apple,
Yeah,
and it's good.
I haven't watched a movie aside from the one that I made, which we screened on Tuesday. I haven't watched a movie in a long time.
Wait, you screened it on Tuesday?
So Cole and I made this documentary on this psychic comedian. His name is
Oh,
Peter Antonio. We've been working on it for a couple years, and we finally got it to a place where we could show a small select group of folk as a focus group to give us feedback.
I then thought that you meant the video that we made with the monkeys.
Not yet. I haven't done anything with that
Yeah.
yet.
I just wanted to. I was like, whoa! I would think that you would have told me, and you would
I
have.
would have told you. I would have been like, hey, look
Yeah.
at this.
Yeah.
No.
Now look at this.
No, look it over here.
Yeah. Still, bed always my favorite.
Hold it right
It's
there.
yeah. Did we suggest that, or did we just
No, I'm sure.
we
Like
never suggest?
John would have come up with that on his own. We
Yeah.
can't take credit for that.
Wait, what do you mean?
Are we not talking about the same thing? I'm talking about
No,
John as Oscar Amazing in ATF. Hold it right there. No, hold it over here.
no. We came up with that. I don't think he ever said it in an ATF.
He didn't?
It was you and me riffing on things that his
All right.
character would say.
So, if that's true, and I have no
You
reason
should
to
you
believe
should
to not believe you, it has actually made its way into that part of my memory that made it real.
you should ask him because I swear I think that we came up with it like after ATF. And if not after ATF, then right at the same time because it was you and I were dueling Oscar Amazing.
I don't remember that, but that doesn't
Wow.
surprise me.
Oh, I don't want the dream to come. I'll tell you one of the craziest things, right? Um, I have this memory of being stuck at someone's house and asking them to deliver a pizza, and then getting a ride back from the pizza people.
Interesting.
And then a friend of mine from high school told me a story where they did that, and I suddenly was like, did I never do that? Was it because according to them, we were on the phone talking,
Yeah.
and they couldn't figure out how to get somewhere, and that was the suggestion. We talked about doing that, and then they did it. So it made me like question everything. I was like, wait a second.
Wild.
Yeah. And now I thought about it, right? And here's the thing that's crazy. There's no way for us to access that past. Theoretically, if the past bifurcates, like the future does, the Mandela effect, Ben. And again, whenever we mention the Mandela effect, I have to mention the Biko effect. We talked about this already?
No, we
I
have
don't know if you
not.
talked about it in the
The
pod.
Biko
So the
effect.
Mandela effect is like this. Um, you remember that Nelson Mandela died in prison in South Africa, and that all these people made like songs about it and stuff, and everybody was sad. But then you find out that Nelson Mandela was still alive, right?
Released from
And
prison, became
that's
president of South Africa.
that's the Mandela effect.
Yeah.
The Biko effect is the Stephen Biko effect is when we just call it the Biko effect when reality recollapses and you realize, oh wait, that was Biko who got killed,
Oh.
and the song I'm thinking of is the Peter Gabriel song, and he was killed in South Africa around the same time as Nelson Mandela being put in prison.
We have
I've just gotten two South African activists mixed up.
we have talked about
The
this.
Biko
Yeah,
effect.
yeah, yeah.
It's worth remembering in these trying times, Ben. And hey, I'll try anything once, even these times.
Speaking of these times, oh, they're not very good on my palate.
Um, sorry, I was imagining. They're not very good on my palate. And then you pick it up, and then you pan out. You suddenly got a beard and a big afro, and you're like, but maybe these trees over here, maybe. And your palate is the one that you're holding in front of your easel
A
as
happy
you.
little time.
Yeah.
Needs
My beard
needs
is
a
now
friend.
long enough that people don't think that I'm that guy anymore.
That guy, that beardo.
Oh, you know who I'm talking about. The beard Afro man.
Oh, are we talking about Bob Ross?
We are talking about Bob Ross. Yes. Jello Biafra. That was it. It's so here's what you can do. You can do Jello Women Be Shopping, Lyndon B. Johnson, Michael B. Jordan, and Jello Biafra. Those are the ones that you can fit into that little thing. And hey, with that, Ben, we are
With
now
that, we've
at the
reached our
1 hour
time.
mark.
All right.
1 hour mark. Somebody should give him a call. So, all right,
He
Ben,
should see his
thank you so
doctor.
much. As always, you, hey, you should see his doctor. Pretty impressive. All right, so listen, it was great talking to you. As always, I will talk to you
Next
next week.
week,
And until then, keep it
the
wrong.
podcast is
How's it
closed.
happening?
Keep it wrong, Paul. I'll talk to you next week. How's it happening? Didn't
You
say that at the top, so tail, how's it happening?